Well, everybody, welcome to ARA's continuing education webinar for November. My name is Tony Saramatis with Truly Wow, ARA's marketing and communications partner. And like I said, welcome to this month's CE webinar with very special guest, Skip Guru Alex Price. Before we get started, just a couple of real quick housekeeping items. Everybody, please be sure to mute yourself. I understand things come up during these webinars. You got to take phone calls. Just make sure you're muted. Okay, with a group this size, it gets a little unruly if we've got a whole bunch of background noise. Secondly, we encourage you to ask questions. What we're going to do is we've set aside 15 to 20 minutes at the tail end to for Alex to handle or to go through all the Q&A. So I ask that you please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. If you don't see it, if you don't see the Q&A button, click the three button icon, the hamburger or the three button icon on the far right side of at the bottom of your screen, and you should see the Q&A button. It's a lot easier to keep track of all the questions coming in using Q&A, the Q&A button, as opposed to using the chat. Feel free, if you absolutely can't find the Q&A button, the chat's fine. But there's just two of us, or just me, working the back end of this. So if we can keep all the Q&A together, we will address them in the order in which they came. So I'd like to introduce you to our special guest for today, Skip Guru Alex Price. Alex is a nationally recognized expert on the art of skip tracing with over 40 years of experience in skip tracing, collections. He's a speaker, he's an author, and he's the author of Skip Tracer's National Certification Program. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Alex to take it away. It's all yours, Alex.
Well, thank you very much. And before we even get started, let me just say how humbled I am that this many people showed up to hear an old guy talk about his passion, which I've had two passions in my entire life. And ironically, I'm celebrating 40 years with both. One is skip tracing, and the other's my marriage to my wife, Paige. This is actually one of my favorite classes to teach, how behavior influences LPR, because LPR is always a topical subject. I get to include human behavior, and I also get to include tech. I promise you, if you follow what I'm about to share with you, you will increase your repossessions with LPR anywhere from 10 to 20%. Some real quick general tips on skip tracing in general. And these are going to be part of a new class that I designed called Learn Your Craft. These classes are going to be done every other month. So the next class will be in January. And some of my general tips are important enough that you'll see them repeated in each class. The first that I tell everybody is, it seems that in a lot of instances and people I talk with, when they get a skip, they seem to feel the individual gains some sort of mythical powers or something. They treat them totally different than any other account. Always remember, your skip is still the same person they've always been. John Q. Detter here did not turn into Doctor Strange. They're doing the same thing they've always done. They're just doing it in a different location, and usually around a different group of people. A lot of times when we're skip tracing accounts, if we talk to a mom, a dad, a 30-year friend, and they say they haven't seen or spoken to Alex in 3 months, we immediately think liar, liar, pants on fire. And I can tell you, oftentimes, uh, they're telling the truth, because whatever has caused this individual to choose flight over fight is also what burnt the bridge between those two parties. The foundation for me of all skip tracing comes down to two things. The first is pattern recognition, and pattern recognition is something that is handled by the neocortex of our brain. It's what allows us to see the ridges and patterns in a fingerprint, in a retina scan. It's actually the foundation of all AI and machine learning. But pattern recognition without being backed up by logic can sometimes lead us down a rabbit trail. Pattern recognition is actually the cause of every conspiracy theory ever known to man. See, computers can only think logically. Humans, on the other hand, every decision they make or we make is based on emotions. And we try to back those decisions up with logic. That's why I don't see AI having a monster impact on skip tracing. And it's also the reason, and some of you might be too young to get this reference, but it's why Spock was always second in command. Because Kirk defeated every villain on every episode using human emotions and his wit and intellect. So you have to combine them. Lastly, as far as skip tracing goes, communication and communication skills are key. I can make skip tracing as difficult or as James Bondish as I really want it to sound. But when we get down to the bottom line, it's about talking to as many people as we can until we come across individuals that have information we don't. So the only reason why you have skips in your RDN or MBSI, whatever platform you're using, is you just haven't spoken to the right people yet. On your screen is what I call the human hamster wheel. And we all live on one. We like to think that we do things randomly, but it's really just not the case. If this weekend you say, hey, hon, let's go for a ride, and she says, where? And you say, oh, just wherever the car takes us. It's not how the human brain works. Even if it's subconscious and you don't realize it, you have a destination in mind. And that's why it's called a destination. It's never by accident. So as you're looking at scans in your historical data, which is where the true power of LPR is in that historical data. Even if a car's been just seen at the location once, all that means is the camera car and the subject's car have only been at the exact same location at the exact time once. It doesn't mean that individual's not there every day. But when I talk about the human hamster wheel, what I'm talking about is we drive the same way to work each and every day. We drive the same way home each and every day. We drive the same way to school, the coffee shop, the grocery store. All of that is done on the same route, unless there's an anomaly of a road closure or an accident that our navigation system alerts us to. Well, your skips are no different. So once you start applying what we're going to talk about today with each and every scan, some of the scans that make no sense, like a car showing up at a Walmart 3 months ago, most people think that's a garbage hit and they toss it to the side when in reality that could be solid gold. One of the things that I drill down on quite a bit when I'm skip tracing is that humans are creatures of habit. And I can make some pretty bold statements statistically. And this goes along with the hamster wheel. We all utilize the same two ATM machines. Now, the invention of the debit card reduced the number of times we visit an ATM, but cash is still king. And when we do use one, it's at one of two locations usually. We shop at the same two grocery stores. We eat at the same 8 restaurants statistically, depending upon what our taste of the day is. If a new restaurant comes into town, we try it, we like it, and we put it in our rotation, we'll drop one of the others. So these are actual pictures. The one to the far left is my house. The other one is a Starbucks that I used to frequent quite a bit. So another coffee shop came into town and I liked it better because I'm not a coffee drinker, I drink tea. But all of these would be examples of some place that we all frequent. What's important to know about these examples is each of them are usually, and geographics can spell a little bit of a difference here, but they are usually within a 2 to 3 square mile radius of our home or our work. And we'll dig into that a little bit more detail in a moment. Here is kind of a picture of the human hamster wheel. It's actually not a circle, but this is kind of a map of my life. We've got my home, we've got the coffee shop that I go to for my iced teas, we've got a grocery store, we've got a cigar shop. And those are the 3 places that I frequent the most on a week in, week out basis. Your debtors are just the same. When I think about skip tracing, and I'm a big history buff, in America, the guys that kind of patented skip tracing and they're the fathers of modern profiling are the Pinkertons. And here's a picture of them. They're 3 brothers. Alan Pinkerton is the eldest, and he's the one standing in the background. And some of the things that they invented we're still doing to this day. They're the largest private investigative firm in the world. They're still in business today. They have a location in every state in the United States and most countries abroad. They now primarily deal in the cyber world. But again, some of the things they invented, we're now still doing. They're best known for their exploits in tracking down Wild West legends, such as Butch Cassidy and the Wild Bunch. And notice I didn't say Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. The Sundance Kid really wasn't a national name until 1969 when they were both immortalized in the movie with Robert Redford and Paul Newman. But this is, like I said, I'm a history buff. This is a pretty cool picture because it shows them in their natural environment. You've got Butch and Sundance there. This picture is known as the Fab Five. At this point in life, they had gone straight and they had completely fallen off the radar, and the Pinkertons, they were ghosts. And you have to remember back then, the Pinkertons had to build profiles on people because they didn't have real names. Butch Cassidy's not his real name. Sundance Kid definitely. Black Bart, Gentleman Bandit, etc. They relied heavily on local townspeople of what they remembered. What was their favorite drink? Did they like blondes, brunettes, redhead dance hall girls? What did they eat? What kind of horses did they ride? When they stayed in town at the hotel, did they stay in a front room or in the back of the hotel facing an alley? If they were staying in the back room facing an alley, that meant that that was a town they were going to commit a robbery in because they could escape out the back window on the horses and be gone. But during this time that they went straight, they hid in plain sight. In Fort Worth, Texas, they were cattle barons. And one of the members of the Wild Bunch got married, and they all got together and had this picture taken. Photography was something that was very scarce at the time. So the photographer thought this was so cool, he put it in his window, and somebody recognized Butch and Sundance, and the chase went on. And then it just depends which part of history you believe. Did they die in Bolivia in the shootout? Or did Butch, for instance, live until the early 30s mining for gold in the Nevada territory? History is normally written by those that win. So it depends on which side you believe. What did they invent? Well, the first thing they did is they were the first ones to ever mark money, that the Secret Service does to this day, record the serial numbers, because they understood that immediately following a robbery, that little bits of the money would show up in the surrounding towns. The other picture is an actual picture of the Colorado Territory that all of their crimes were committed in. And if you look at this carefully, you should recognize it because it looks very similar to the DRN sites or Clear. And what they did is every time a crime was committed and money would show up in a small town, they literally went to a map and put a pin in it. And over time, those maps gave them escape routes, safe houses, friends, and it actually eventually led them to the hole in the wall, which is now Telluride, Colorado. One of the things that I find fascinating with technology is there's actually been very few things over the years that we've invented. All we've really done is sped up the process. The same information that we use to find skips was always available. We just had to drive to the courthouse, wait in line, use a mimeograph machine, drive back to the office, and if it was out of our area, we had to make a friend to do that for us and mail it to us or read it to us. I remember giving repossession assignments over the phone. Thought the fax machine was the coolest thing I ever saw when it first came out. Well, now we can gather the same data that's always been there, but we can do it in the click of a mouse, and we can actually gather more intel in 2 seconds than what I could have in the field in a month. But it's still the same information. I think the only really big thing that has happened in my lifetime, of course, would be the invention of our cellular phones today and just how amazing those are. Skip tracing 101. Everybody in this room are entrepreneurs. Your business owners, your conflict resolution experts, your personnel experts, mechanical experts. You wear a number of different hats every day. Well, this is the one task that you have during your day that you have to be truly fully focused on. The noise of the day that surrounds you, you've got to get rid of it because you're hunting the most elusive creature on the planet. They have the same ability that you do to think and reason. And we're in a continuing education class today. Well, there's classes taught all over the globe, online and in person, on how to commit fraud, how to make fake driver's licenses, how to do credit fraud, etc. I go to a lot of those classes in person and on the dark web because how can I teach fraud investigations if I don't know what to look for? So this is a little exercise I've been doing for years to clear my head and put myself in the right frame of mind to work a skip. I simply stop what I'm doing, take a deep breath, and ask myself 3 questions. What would I do? Where would I go? And whom would I stay in contact with? We are all social creatures. If Facebook has proved nothing more than that, it's proved that we're social creatures with 3 billion with a B unique users worldwide, and they're not allowed in China. So again, that certainly proved we're social creatures, and we are all going to stay in contact with someone. Maybe just not the couple references you've been given or that you've found up until this point. One thing that I like doing is I can't find anybody until I answer 2 questions. The first is the why. Why did they pick flight over fight? So I try to take the given address, if possible, the address on the application and the address on the assignment, and I pull those up in Google Earth. I do not use Google Maps. I use Google Earth because it is a free download right to your desktop, and it's got 101 little widgets that regular Google Maps doesn't. And if you download it and start using it to its fullest potential, where you can layer addresses on top of addresses and see how far each address is to each other, and does it fit within that 2 to 3 mile radius I spoke of, that's when you start developing true patterns. So the first address on this particular skip that we'll call Alex Price is the given address on the application. This is when Alex was creditworthy. He was trustworthy. He was in a good relationship. He had a job. This is a home that was built in 1910. It's a cool little Victorian cottage here in Mobile. I know a lot about this house because my wife and I almost bought it. Now we have the given address on the assignment. There's a stark difference. What is important about these 2 addresses is the time frame, the little blank area in between the 2 locations. That's when the why occurred. I call them speed bumps in life, and we all hit them and they're never positive. So loss of a relationship, a loved one, a loss of a job, etc. And if we're all put under the same stressors, we're all going to react in similar fashion. That's what the fight or flight psychological study proved years ago. So once I find out the why, what are they running from? And I can tell you it's very rare over a car. Although some people, as we know in our industry, as dangerous as it is, they will fight to keep that car because usually it's the last asset they have left. But they're not running from just the car. There's something else going on in their life that is scarier than losing an automobile. When I find out the why, that leads me to the new people they've surrounded themselves with, the core group of people that we have in our lives, personally and professionally. And as we go down the paths of life, I think we all can agree the inner circle changes. We lose contact with friends. Unfortunately, people pass away. We make new friends. You're not friends with everybody that you went to high school with, or college, or the military, or your last job. And you're not supposed to, because we go down different paths. So the why always leads me to the where. I want you to think of your own inner circle of people that you surround yourself with. Think of them as satellites. They go out into the world, they gather information, and they bring it back to you the next time the two of you are together or you speak. And you are somebody else's satellite. So I never skip trace from outward in, I skip trace from in out. I very rarely look for Alex Price. I look for the people that are around Alex: boyfriends, girlfriends, roommates, baby mamas, baby's daddies, best friends, etc. They lead me to Alex because Alex is hiding. He's not going to have anything in his name. That's why once we do find girlfriends, boyfriends, spouses putting their car into LPR to see if it's ever been seen is so critical. And you can actually put it in to a DRN and just put your internal account number and put -B. That tells you that that is a vehicle that belongs to that account, but not necessarily the car that you have the assignment on. So the why always leads me to the where is the key here. Here's the human survival needs map. To thrive and survive on planet Earth, we really need 4 basic things. Now, I have spent the better part of 2 decades studying human behavior and human nature, and have been very lucky to have some of the best that's ever done it as mentors. And I can tell you that they try to make those 2 fields of study difficult when you're comparing them, but they're actually quite easy. Human nature is the study of what makes us all the same, and human behavior is the study of what makes us all different. And the only difference between the two is free will. We're the only creatures on the planet that have it. So when we look at these 4 things that we all need to thrive and survive on planet Earth, the first is food. Well, what we choose to eat, we're a carnivore, we're a vegan, what have you, that's where free will comes into play. Our minds require entertainment of some type. And I'm not necessarily, in this case, focusing on movies or books. I like to focus on people's hobbies. And when I am talking to anyone, I try to find out what makes them tick. I can tell you that when I was a young guy, before I went in the Army and during the Army, I was heavily involved in bodybuilding and powerlifting. I've been in martial arts since I was 4. Well, at 63, the Alex Price sitting before you today, there's nothing about me that says the word body or building. But I can tell you who won this year's Mr. Olympia because I still follow the sport. Hobbies are usually something we start in childhood, and we very rarely ever give them up completely. We might scale back due to economic conditions, age, etc., but we always do them. That's why if there is a LPR hit in a strip mall that has a gym, do you think your individual has stopped working out because he's a skip? No, he's at another gym with new training partners. Residents, we all need shelter. One thing that I look at when I look at the pictures is I look to see, is the area where the car was seen at, the scan, was it residential or commercial? Was it rural or was it in the city? You see, if someone is used to living in a rural area like I am, I could never survive living in a metropolitan area. There's just too many people, too much noise. I would go insane. And the reverse of that is also true. Now, they might have to, for a short term, when they move to a new area, stay someplace while they're looking for that perfect spot for them. But that is something that they very rarely ever change. And last is we all seek companionship of some kind. And I'm not talking about boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife. It's just the friends we surround ourselves with. And usually speaking, they're usually within the 3 to 5 year age range of ourselves. And I'll show you something a little bit more detail that proves that here in a moment. Human characteristics that I manipulate while I'm skip tracing. And manipulate or manipulation gets a bad rap. Every conversation that I have, I try to manipulate the conversation to where the other person gains the most value. Every conversation I have is not about me, it's about the other person. So I look for different things in different people to get the most out of a conversation. And we'll talk more about that in an upcoming class. But we're social creatures. As I said, Facebook amazes me with 3 billion users. But it doesn't amaze me because of the number of users these social media platforms have. What amazes me is very intelligent people go on these social networking sites and lose their mind and post the most intimate details of their lives and their family and their friends that you can think of. They post pictures that they're on vacation in the Bahamas for the next 3 weeks. Well, thank you very much. I know I can break into your house and I've got 3 weeks to decide what I want to take and what I don't. We are creatures of habit. That's what the human hamster wheel is all about. And we are curious creatures. These are the 3 things that I focus on. That's why I think of the restaurants, the favorite lounge, pub, etc., the cigar store, the gym, what makes each individual tick. And I focus on that to go from in to out. And I look at the scans. I also, to find out a little bit more about who someone is in order to find them, I'm going to use Facebook as an example because they are the 600-pound gorilla as far as overall user base. And would it shock you to learn that there's actually 65 social media sites around the world? China has an exact replica of Facebook that is used only in China called WeWe. I'm going to send everybody in attendance a PDF that will give you all 65 social networking sites around the world, Latin America, Russia, China, what they do. Because if you're looking for someone that is not from here, where do you think they are? The American version of Facebook or the one that's used in the country they're from that their friends and family are in? Now, if you're using a fake Facebook profile, an attractive young lady to send to a male debtor and vice versa, I'm not here to dispense legal advice, but I tell you to stop because you're violating the terms and conditions of Facebook that you agreed to. And you might think, ah, big deal. Well, it's actually a felony. The Computer Crime Act, or the CFBB, that President Clinton signed into law right before he left the White House, makes using any hardware or software against the terms and conditions of the manufacturer or owner a felony. So if a district attorney really wanted to get you, they could. because very few of us read the 4,300 pages of the terms and conditions of Facebook. We just made our profile and hit enter. And we don't need to use fake stuff. We don't need to pretext once we start combining behavior with tech. This is my personal Facebook site. And I'm going to tell you, when I look at anybody's Facebook, I don't care about their post. And that's what most people do, the settings of only friends of friends can see. I look at these other tools that very few people make secure. The first thing I do is I go to the About Me area. Look at all the info I've given to anyone and everyone pretty much in the world. My phone number, my email address. I put a fake birth date in. Where I work. The places I've lived. My favorite movies, my favorite TV shows. I can then next go to pictures. Pictures are worth 1,000 words, as the old saying goes. The bottom picture is my wife and I when my daughter got married. The one above it was at an Allied show last year. I decided to photobomb my dear friend just to have some fun, Ron Brown. People take pictures of every doggone thing they eat, every meal. They take pictures and we don't notice we're wearing a work shirt with our company name on it. My profile or headshot pic, that day I happened to be wearing a shirt that said Locate Smarter on it. We all do it. Your skips are no different. I then look at check-ins. I look at events that someone might have tagged that they want to go to. I look at any reviews maybe they've given. If somebody gives a company, they take the time to give that company a good review, you can guarantee that is someplace that they will be at again. And a lot of times they might know the subject by name. I can tell you Mobile Bank coins and fine jewelry know me by name because once a month I go and I buy silver. Most of my check-ins over the past decade have been at airports or hotels because I was traveling upwards of 250 days a year teaching data analytics skip tracing. I had that one off there, which is an anomaly at the hospital here in Mobile where I had a freak accident at the house, fell off a ladder and cracked my head wide open on a fountain in a flower bed. I hope I don't repeat that check-in. But look at all the info that we're given. The About Me area, it shows the pages I'm following, the pages I like, the groups I'm in. All of that is there, free and willing. Now, there's some other things you can go to for information that we have forgotten about over the years. One of my favorite tools are newspapers. Newspapers are where our day-to-day lives are chronicled. We have obituaries, we have wedding announcements, we have estate sales, we have everything must go because we're moving to Colorado yard sale, etc. Every newspaper in the world has a web presence almost. Some of them have archived areas you can go back to the 1800s on. If I'm looking for more people to talk to that I haven't spoken to yet, if I know someone in the person's immediate family passed away, I can go to obits.com, I can go to a local paper. If I'm lucky enough and I find an obituary, there was 18 people listed here. Someone's going to have info I don't. We have wedding announcements. There was over 75 names listed. I now have a new wife. What does she drive? Are there scans on her? If I find her, I'm definitely finding him if he's my skip. I'm gathering the why and the who so the LPR scans make sense the second I see them. I do a quick pre-skip or light skip on every tool. Now, everybody that knows me knows I never do commercials, but I am going to show you a product that I designed and the team at Locate Smarter built. And it does a light skip or a pre-skip with a VIN or a plate or an address, not a social. Now you can duplicate this with another provider if you use somebody else, but I just want to show you what I do. A pre-skip is kind of day one. I put the VIN in, I get the year, make, model, the plate, the state, when it was last registered. I get the registration address, and I get the lien holder. Now, this is an API right to the DMV, so it's live info. We then get who the vehicle is registered to, John Doe. We take that registration address and who it's registered to, we backdoor the 3 bureaus, and we come back with the best phones and the best email and the best credit header address for the individual. So you have the 2 most popular addresses where cars are recovered from. For a light skip, this is just going just a smidge deeper for a very powerful reason. It gives you the same info that I just talked about, but it is next going to give you the known associates and the relatives of the individual, first degree only. One of the things that the industry has not done in learning their craft is understanding data and where it comes from. When you look at specific to relatives, and when I look at any database, that's what I look at first. I don't look at addresses. I look at relatives, and I instantly know whether their matching logic is very loose or very strict. Now, I am the anomaly I talk about. I'm an only child, an only grandchild, and every relative that I have, other than my wife and our 2 kids, have passed away in the past few years. So if I pull a comp or a report on myself and I see 125 relatives, I know it's based on very loose logic. But this is where I find the boyfriends, the girlfriends, the roommates, etc. And I do that because statistically I know that we all date or marry someone within a 3 to 5 year age range of ourselves. So if I'm looking for Alex Price and I see Paige Regan, and Alex is 63 and she's 59, and they have shared 2 addresses, voila, we have a pattern that I can justify with logic. Now I look for Paige and I'll find Alex. We can apply the same logic to the friends that we have, those closest friends. Now, I have friends in the industry that, yes, are older than me, believe it or not, but I also have friends that are much younger than I am, the new bloods of the industry, that are this industry's future, that I love hanging out with. But those closest people are usually very close to our age because we have the same interest and the same problems a lot of times. We can both complain about our knees, our backs, etc. This then repeats itself if there's a co-debtor. So how do we apply all of this to LPR? When I get a hit, I pull it back to a 1 mile radius as far as Google Earth. I want to know, is this primarily a residential or commercial area? Because I have 2 funnels that I put the scan in based on if it's residential or commercial. I know my subject has not gone up the economic ladder, they've gone down it, or they wouldn't be a skip. So if my individual was living in an apartment, I know they're not a homeowner now. If they were a homeowner, they're probably in an apartment. If they were spending $1,000 a month in rent, I'm going to look for something that's 700 or $50, $750 or less. And I can do that very quickly by going to either the Chamber of Commerce, and they can tell me every rental location in that economic need, like apartments, etc. I also, everybody has a friend that's a realtor. They can look up the MLS for every rental property in that area that fits the economic need. Now, I look to see what is city versus what is the rural area of that particular town. And I start narrowing the funnel down from there. I also keep in mind that the individual might have fallen further down the economic ladder than even I am thinking, and maybe they're couch surfing with a family member or friend. Even though you've called that individual and they've said they don't know where he is, they're on the couch. That's why I like the Google Earth so much. I can take the friends' addresses, the relatives' addresses, the given, the last, the couple scans, and I can layer them, and I can see how far they are from each other, and I can develop the pattern of that hamster wheel. Here is a scan. Should look real familiar to you. I pulled it out to see, is this commercial or residential? Now, if I've really profiled who this individual is, I know that they're married, if they have kids, what age the kids are. There is, over to the far left, a middle school. Maybe they were at this location picking something up before or after they dropped the kid off at school. In this particular case, they were at a Walgreens. I always look at the time and date stamp. Drugstores are the one thing that we only use one of. And we're usually at it during non-working hours, picking up prescriptions. So they're always, except for a small percentage of the time, within a mile, 2 miles. Again, geographics can spell a little bit of a difference from our work or our home. So once I know they're at this Walgreens, I start looking in that 1 to 2 square mile radiuses. Are there any relatives? Are there what rental properties are in the area that my subject could be at? And I put boots on the ground, or I dial for dollars. In this case, there was a reference that was about 1.5 miles from that Walgreens, and the car was secured. Some commercial tips. The holy grail of information is a job. It's what we all look for. We look for employments. Well, I can tell you that there's no such data out there other from Credit Header, and it's older than I am usually. But I do know that it's very difficult for any of us after a certain point in life to change our vocation. I'm a skip tracer. I'm going to be a skip tracer to the day I die. If I look at the application and I see the individual was a plumber, they didn't become a dentist. If they were a car salesman at the time of the loan, they're still a car salesman because it's what they know. Or a plumber, a carpenter. They don't have the time and resources to learn a new skill set because they have obligations. They need to eat. They need electricity, etc. So, if I see a scan at a commercial location, and I'm going to show you 2 examples, I can make a quick phone call to the Chamber of Commerce and find employers within that 1 to 2 mile radius that would have a need for my subject's location and narrow down. So here's an historic hit on a car. It was a very fancy Mercedes Benz. My subject was a new car salesman at this particular dealership in Fort Worth, Texas. We not only, when someone is a skip because of the why part of this, they not only go down the economic ladder, they usually go down the social ladder as well. Because a more current scan brought me here, and the individual was a salesman at this location, and the vehicle was secured. Again, never forget spouses, boyfriends, girlfriends, even best friends. I can give you a great example. My best friend on this planet, I'm 63, and we have been best friends for over 50 years. I talk to him probably more than I do my very own spouse. We talk every day. Every Friday night, we do a Zoom call together and smoke a cigar and have a drink and chat. We have been friends for over 50 years, but we have never shared an address. We have never registered a car at the same location. So there is not a database in the world that he will show up on. But you know where he does show up? He shows up on historical searches on LPR, because every 3 months, Charlie, he's a retired warden of a prison over in federal prison over in Louisiana. He jumps on his Harley and he rides over here to Mobile, and we turn into 15-year-olds for the weekend. Well, LPR has caught him at my address 3 times. When nothing else connects us, LPR can. Here's a cool one. Car scene at a strip mall. With Google Earth, it'll tell you the different names of the different businesses that are in this strip mall. I know that no destination is by accident. So I told the client to have the agent go to some of these shops and see if anybody happened to know the subject. It just so happens Spoil Me Nails was one of the shops. My subject's girlfriend worked there, and her address was this lovely little cottage, Craftsman Cottage house. And this was a $750,000 bail that the individual had jumped on, and was a very dangerous individual, and he was apprehended at this location. So that's kind of the methodology that I use with LPR. I want to keep everything within the where and the why and what falls within it, and build my file from outside of it. The last class I did, and I don't know if I'll get this question in this class, but just in case I don't, the last class I did, somebody asked me a question I've never been asked before, and it was pretty cool. And I conversed with some of the human behavior experts that I'm friends with, that are mentors of mine, Joe Navarro and Jack Schaefer and some others. They asked me, what if the person I'm looking for is an addict? Does behavior change? And it actually does. When the individual is straight, not high or what have you, he will have certain habits and certain character traits. Well, when they're not on the straight and narrow, when they've fallen off the wagon, they will have a completely different set of traits and habits. So keep that in mind when you're adding the behavioral part to tech. I always look, we've got a beautiful picture of the back of the car.
I always blow that picture up. I save it as a JPEG and I blow it up as much as I can because I want to see what's on the back of the car. Our cars have become the billboards of our lives. I can tell what someone's religion is, their party affiliation in politics. Their child goes to Mataluca Elementary and they're an honor student. Well, thank you very much. I know that you have to live within 7 miles of that school to be in the district. I know they support law enforcement. I know they have a parking pass. I know who their favorite sports team is. Now we've even gotten crazy and given everybody in the free world access to our family. You've got a dad, he's military. Okay, is he deployed or is he home? We've got a mom. We've got a kid with a soccer ball. Great. Is soccer in season? Where's practice? When's the next game? We have a daughter who's a cheerleader. I know every high school in Mobile and what the mascot is. So just by the shirt, I could tell you it's Faith Academy. Okay. What time of year is it? It's football season. Cheerleaders are going to be active. When's their next practice? When's their next game? My car's going to be there. There's a pet involved. From their last address, is there a vet within a 1 to 2 mile radius of the house? How many are there? Is the little puppy with the name, like I have 3 dogs. I have a shepherd whose name is Harley Quinn. I have a black mouth cur whose name is Thor. And then my dog is a lovable little basset hound named Penelope Garcia after the character on Criminal Minds. We go to the vet pretty often for checkups and shots, and the people know me by name. They know the dog's names, of course. And remember this, doesn't matter how critical the information is, people love to talk. We just ask the wrong questions, and most of the time in the wrong tone of voice. And we'll cover that in the class in January, which is going to be how to build rapport, persuasion, and trust. Some quick ways to contact me. First, I have a personal Facebook group called Skip Gurus Tribe, and we're over 4,000 strong now. And some of those human behavior experts like Robin Dreek, Joe Navarro, and others are members. We allow no memes, no political speech. It's content-driven information sharing of skip tracing and different tools only. If you ask to join, I'd be more than happy to approve your access. I can always be found on LinkedIn. My info is always going to be updated on LinkedIn. Even though LinkedIn's gotten a little salesy, it's still one of the best places there is to network. And lastly, here is my contact information. Once we are all done with this class, I will be sending everyone in attendance a certificate of attendance for today's class. I'll include that PDF with the 65 social media sites around the world so you have some actionable intel. And with that, I don't think there's a bigger honor that I have in my life than when, again, this many people show up to a class like this. So I get far more out of these classes probably than y'all do. So I want to say to everybody, be blessed, be safe, and happy hunting. And thank you.
Thanks, Alex. Hey, does anybody have any questions? Gary asked a question a little bit earlier when you were going through the DMV portion.
Yes.
If that was the DMV, he asked, is this the DMV skip?
Yes. And anybody that's in attendance, when I send you the certificate, if you'd like to set up a free test of that particular tool, be more than happy to do it for you. Again, I don't do these to do commercials. You can build that same little report using another provider. This just does it all for you in one click. And this came from during my travels of 250 days a year on the road to every client you can think of. I saw the same problem at the same location. No matter where I went, no matter what the size was. Everybody was doing about 8 to 10 searches on an assignment before they issued it to the agent. When the agent got it, they repeated the same thing. And it was very time consuming, and I knew there was a better way. And that's where this tool came about.
Okay, Alex, thank you. You are a wealth of knowledge, without a doubt.
Well, if anybody, 99% of the time when the QA comes up at a live event or these webinars, I have to pack so much info into a short class today, an hour class, even if it's two and a half hour class. I got to pack so much info in it. People's minds are mush. The questions come up a day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days later when they're working the next skip. So that's why my contact info is here. I have no greater joy in life than when people call me and say, Alex, I have this skip. Can we chat about it? I'm an old hacker, an old safe cracker who likes to keep his fingers warmed up, cracking a safe by helping you find your skip. So
Hey,
again, everybody, thank you. Be blessed. Be safe.
hey, Alex, real quick, there's another question just came in.
Oh, cool.
Alyssa was asking, how do you pull up historic LPRs for a vehicle you're not assigned, for a vehicle you're not assigned on RDN?
With the agents, you really can't. Now, the only thing you could do is you could put in the girlfriend's address, and track it for a live alert and just put -B. But you can look at your own historic addresses. So if you put in a VIN, who knows whether that car is assigned to you or not? You've driven past it, you snapped a picture of it, and it's been proven in court 100 times over the past since LPR first came out that you have no propensity of privacy with a vehicle on the public roads or driveways. So just go into LPR, put the VIN in and see if you've ever seen it. Whether you use a DRN or, shoot, I just forgot the name of the other company, Location Services. I just went brain dead for a minute. Their platform might be a little different. I'm not sure, but I know you can pull up any VIN in DRN's LPR, and DRN has no clue if you have that as an assignment or not.
Okay. Yeah, couple more questions. Christopher is asking, what is the name of your tool again?
It
Christopher.
is called the validation report.
Hmm.
And when I send you the certificate, I'll just go ahead and include a link that if you're interested in a free test, you can click on the link and it'll ask for your company name, your phone, and your email, and I'll call you and give you a free trial on the system.
All right. Carrie is asking, any insights for forwarders on LPR now that it's gone exclusive to location services?
What's going exclusive to location services? Forwarders use both. They have to. So I don't kind of understand the question. And if it's a car that you have scanned, then you can look at it regardless of whether it's with a forwarder or not.
Okay, and I assume, Alex, that because you provide your phone number and an email address, that if they've got specific questions like that, they can reach out, or no?
Oh, all day, every day. I
Okay,
said my most favorite thing in the world to do is to have great conversation with great people. So by all means, please, if you have questions tomorrow, the next day, the next skip you're working, you want to chat about it, shoot me an email or give me a call. That's my purpose in life. That and being a grandfather for the first time.
Another question about validation report. Does it give access to suppressed states?
No. There are certain states, Pennsylvania, New York, California, that by their state law, can we see it on our end? Oh, yeah. But can we legally release the data? No, because of their state law. But we have states that other data providers don't have, like Alabama and a few like Arizona and a couple others that my competitors don't. Again, I'm not here to give a commercial, so if you have any interest, so we don't waste everybody else's time, if you have any interest in the validation report, shoot me an email and give me a call, or fill out the little thing that I'm going to email you with the certificate.
If you don't get the certificate today or tomorrow, please give me a little grace just by the sheer number of several hundred people that join these webinars. Each certificate I manually do and send. So it might take a day or so for you to get the certificate. So if you don't want to wait, email or call me on the validation report. I can get you a free test account.
All right. Well, everybody, in the interest of time, we're about 8 minutes over, so we're gonna end it here. Alex, thanks again.
Thank you, sir.
Real quickly, if you haven't registered for NARS 2026, go to reposummit.com to register. If you are going to NARS, make sure you book your hotel stay as early as possible. The room block sells out every year without fail, every single year. And a quick PSA, because the event has grown so much, we are now starting to get spoof emails sent out to ARA members telling them that they can register or book their hotel stay through them. Do not do that. It's a scam. The only way you can book your hotel is on the link that we provide at reposummit.com. So just a quick PSA.
And let me tell you, even though the show's not till, is it March or April?
April.
Even though it's not till April, if you wait till January to make a room reservation, it'll be sold out.
It'll be sold out.
I made my reservation for my room and did my registration for the event the same day the announcement went out, because I hate going to a trade show that I can't stay at the location where the trade show's at.
Yeah, so be sure to register early and book your hotel stay early. Okay, with that said, Alex, thanks again, everybody. We will see you next month for ARA's continuing education webinar. Alex is going to be back with us again in January. Okay.
Fantastic. Well, everybody, again, y'all have a great day. You're going to call me so we can chat afterwards, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, everybody, be blessed. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.